Blog
Lift off.
Talk Radio.
Hello, and welcome to Work Trends with Megan M. Biro. Whether you're here to network, learn, or share, we want you to have fun. During this live broadcast and Twitter chat, we'll discuss the future of work with smart and entertaining guests who value today's business and its impact on the world of work for the future. Stay tuned, because we start in 3, 2, 1.
Hey, hey, hey. And yes, that's not a joke. That is a real voiceover friend of mine. Hysterical and fun.
Like, where is
Hope
he?
everybody
Is he in a studio somewhere, or is he like?
He is.
That was live, right?
He's everywhere I go. He comes around with me. He's in the studio just for you today.
Carries
See that?
bags. Nice.
Exactly. So listen, I want to welcome everybody out there to another informative talent culture work trends live podcast and Twitter chat. I want to thank my sponsors and our community friends out there. And thank you so much again to everybody's outpouring of support around my dad. Life does move on, but having support and great friends like you all makes it much, much easier. So heartfelt thanks to all of you guys out there. You mean the world to me and my family. So, I'm pretty excited about today. Number one, I've got a very dear friend and colleague of mine here who I'll introduce to you shortly, who I've known for many, many years. I think the world of, and I think once you all hear a little bit more about what he's up to and what he's all about, I think you're going to feel the same way. So, when you're undertaking any kind of an organizational transformation, you should take the time to really understand your unique workplace culture, right? Everybody out there knows I've been blogging about it for many years and tweeting about it and sharing my thoughts, right? Who you really are, how your people really work, and how employees really experience it all is workplace culture, right? So today we're going to try to understand how to stop trying to become the organization everyone else says you should be. Stop trying to be the cool kid on the block if you're really not feeling that. There's no pressure, right? And start taking pride in and making the very most of the organization you already have, because you do have one. I know that, and we're going to uncover that. So we're going to try to uncover today how to, number one, understand your culture. Number two, align culture with true success, something that feels good and meaningful, how to own it, and that's the good, the bad, and yes, the ugly, because we know it's out there, right? And discover and understand culture at an intimate and authentic level, and there's nobody better to sit here and talk to me today virtually than Charlie Judy, who can be found on the Twitters as HR Fishbowl. So a little bit about Charlie, and then he's going to introduce himself to you all. He forged a successful career over 2 decades as an HR executive with some of the world's most prominent professional services firms. He has traversed the global economy while living and working in Chicago, New Orleans, New York, St. Louis, Brussels, Belgium, and I may need some help from you guys. Hyderabad, India. Jeez.
Yeah, that works.
Well, that was it.
Hyderabad.
That works.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
He believes, you just heard his voice too, he believes that the future of work is not about better systems, technologies, or the next shiny new object. It's not about any one best practice or secret sauce, right? So he has most recently founded a very exciting company called WorkXO to help us stop over-engineering our human resources and start rehumanizing them. So welcome, Charlie. What say you?
What's up? What is up? So glad to be here. Thanks
What
for
up?
inviting me. And thanks for that was a very nice intro. We've got to get that bio trimmed down a little bit because it took up 5 minutes of your show, and we have 25 minutes left. So
I know.
Yeah, it's great to be here, and I'm glad that your mass following is interested enough in talking more about culture and all that stuff. So thanks for having me.
Heck yeah, we're that's what we love to do. I love this is now called Work Trends, formerly T-Chat for all of those who are old enough to been in social media for more than 5 years. And
I had to get the tattoo.
Cool
I had
stuff.
to get the T-Chat tattoo scratched out and redone with
no kidding.
Now Work Trends. Yeah.
You're so cool. You've always been like the coolest guy on the block, seriously. So there's no I wasn't surprised when I heard you were doing all this fancy stuff, So tell us just a little bit about what you've been up to, because the last I knew, you were kind of working for a big old company, weren't you? Tell us just a little bit about the last couple of years for Charlie
my last
Judy.
gig. So I spent 23 years as a good old corporate boy and HR executive. And my last role, I was chief HR officer for a professional services firm of about 2,500 employees. And I won't belabor you all or bore you with the true backstory, the long backstory, but I've always had an itch, just to go build something and to really try to create or certainly contribute more directly to the future of work, which is something that obviously you spend a lot of time talking about, and something that I think we all ought to be focused on. It's more than a cliche. It's important, and it's important for us to understand that future is constantly evolving. What we call the future of work today will very quickly become the future of or the workplace of the past tomorrow.
Right.
And so we need tools, we need capabilities, we need knowledge, we need to invest effort in staying out in front of these things. And so my passion, and now hopefully the passion of our firm, WorkXO, is really focused on trying to help firms get smarter about understanding who they are and how they work and how their employees really experience it all. We think companies all too often fail to take that first step. We run after shiny objects. We run after quick fixes. We run after what we think might be broken without really taking the time to understand what we're working with to begin with. And so we've designed an approach to help organizations do that, and we're liking what we're using so far.
So where are you? You're still based out of Chicago, right?
I am in Chicagoland, yes. And then my two partners are in DC. So.
Okay, and your two partners are also people that I know and love. Can you tell us just a little bit about them for a moment, and what led you guys to come together? How'd you meet?
Yeah, so Jamie Notter is a longtime culture strategist, writer, prolific blogger, conflict manager, just one of those guys who, you meet him and you spend 5 minutes with him and he's got a bunch more brain cells than you do. So I've known him for bunches of years. We were part of an inaugural group of kind of thought leaders in the talent management space who locked themselves in a cabin, literally, and spitball and brainstorm and talk about the future of work. I met him at the same time as I met Maddie Grant, who is our other partner. She's a digital strategist, a humanist, also kind of a culture guru and marketer. And they were at that event with me, and we maintained close contact ever since then. And we marinated on bunches of ideas, and it finally came to fruition and where we are today. So,
well, congratulations. I'm so excited for each of you. I'm a big fan of what you're trying to accomplish. So you have a friend here in me in the talent culture community forever. So you best be getting that tattoo changed, okay, my friend? I will.
Thank you.
Go down to New Orleans or wherever we need to go and get a group of us together to get that going, all right?
Sounds good. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. So tell us, Mr. Charlie, what it means to you to rehumanize human resources, because I'm fearful that humanization, and I'm guilty of it because I'm the one who wrote the Forbes post like 3 years ago talking about humanizing your brand, and everyone made fun of me at the time, and now everyone's using it. Now it's like a popular buzzword. Is it a buzzword? I mean, why are now you're bringing this up, so I'm wondering, is there something to this?
Well, you know what? I think I've probably been one of those people that, I know I have, that maybe beat up on buzzwords a little bit. But I think buzzwords are important. I think language is important in how we talk about work. You need to ground yourself with something. And it's easy to talk in generalities. It's easy to kind of get lost in the noise. I think if we have a common language around this stuff, even if it becomes cliche, it at least heads us in a similar direction. So, whether you call it humanize or whether you call it, human resources, or whether you call it human capital, or whether you call it workforce, it doesn't matter. We're having a conversation around it, and that's important. Neither here nor there. I think humanization is a noble cause, as long as you're actually doing something more than paying lip service to it. Words become problems when they're only words if you've got some stuff behind it. I think humanization in the workplace is about getting back to some of the basics that we've just lost focus on. Work is about human beings, period. It is about human beings.
Thank you, Charlie.
That are, and I don't care what you're making, I don't care what
it.
you're selling. Yeah, I don't care where your market is or how you define your marketplace. All of it is about human beings. And somewhere, some way, somehow, we all kind of got caught up in, better process, better technology, better systems, must get a quote unquote seat at the table. I apologize for even saying it. All this stupid stuff.
No, you went there.
I did it only because
I know you have
a
seat. You have a seat at the table. I know it.
Yeah. 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 We don't. Anyway, so
we're gonna tweet that out. Everybody out there on the Twitter sphere, we said it.
It's Twitter gold, man. That'll get you some hits right there.
That's it. There you go.
No, humanization is about getting back to the basics. That's what it is. It's about understanding that every individual you have in the workplace is unique and distinct. They may have some common ambitions, goals, et cetera, but they also have a bunch of different stuff that's driving their need to be there. And we, in how we run the people practices for our businesses, need to get better at understanding that we don't have a.
Yeah, there's. So what are the best ways for people out there, companies, everybody to understand their culture? Give us your top picks for how to get there. What are the first steps? Yeah,
so a couple things, and again, I know we only have about 15 minutes here before we jump into the Twitter chat, but one, stop worrying about some magic formula, or stop wondering whether or not you are a quote unquote great place to work or best place to work. Those terms are so relative and so personal, and the idea that anybody can give you a recipe for what makes you a best place to work, I hope that idea will very quickly fade into the sunset. I believe that it will. You need, as an organization, to understand that there are certain things that drive your success. And the things that drive your success are not necessarily what drives even your closest competitors' success. So take some time to just, understand what you've got.
Love it.
Don't measure something that somebody else is telling you need to measure. Understand what you've got, and that means paying attention, I think maybe it makes sense to just talk for a second about how we even define culture. I mean, culture.
How we do? Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to get your input on this, but it's first of all, it's lots of things, right? It's not one formula. We talk about it in a number of ways, but one of the ways we do it is we say it's the behaviors, it's the actions, it's the values, it's the belief, it's all the stuff, right, that you experience when you show up. And it's not, your values, which we're all very fond of putting on the wall and referring to and having having plaques on our desks and so on and so forth. I mean, that may or may not line up with what's really valued, but they often are not the same. And so we think culture is a lot about what's really valued, like what really gets stuff done. What are people being held accountable to? What does success look like? That's different than what maybe we value. And so understanding what's truly valued in your workplace is kind of the first step, I think, to understanding what your culture is.
I have a question. When we talk about understanding your workplace genome, what does that really mean to you in your organization right now?
Yeah, so we kind of got caught onto this idea that, there's this interesting dichotomy on the planet Earth, and we have 7 billion human beings, and we all share a very common, closely connected set of DNA. We've, like it or not, we are cut from a very similar cloth somewhere along the way. Yet, each one of those 7 billion, each one of we 7 billion, is really distinctly unique. And we think the same is true for organizations. We think that if we can start to kind of create the DNA of the cultural DNA of an organization, we call them culture markers, then it gives us that common language to talk about who we are and how we work. But it doesn't paint us into a corner around who we need to be, right? We get to make a decision around who we need to be based on what our success drivers are, not based on what somebody else's recipe is. So we've really tried to create a language around what those culture markers are so that organizations can get better at understanding them and then making some decisions around whether or not those things are important in their own success. That's what we refer to when we refer to the workplace genome. Very cool.
Okay, good to know. There'll be a quiz at the end, everybody. So just making sure everyone out there is having a good time and learning lots. I know I am, and, I talk about workplace culture all the time, but this is a really unique angle on it. So I know, and we all know that I've been out there long enough to be dangerous, that fully owning anything can be hard work. How do you recommend organizations own the good, the bad, and I think most importantly, the ugly? What does that process actually look like?
Yeah, I mean, again, this is where the humanization comes into play. We all need to be a little bit more vulnerable, first of all. And for any organization to pretend like they don't have the ugly, I mean, first of all, you're fooling yourselves. And second of all, you're not fooling anybody else out there. I mean, we all know, particularly the newer entrants to the workforce, who we know are increasingly discerning about what it's really like to work someplace. They're tired of these glossy career pages and the bull hunky bunky donkey that we're throwing on them around what it's like to work there.
And by the way, those plaques need to go now. That's really old school and they're ugly. So I said it. No more plaques.
Yeah,
please.
I mean, if you're telling the workforce that, we really value integrity, they're going to say congratulations, because everybody else does too. And
congratulations, but I don't feel good working here. There's a problem there. But I feel like, you know what? I'm not going to say it. I feel like poop.
No. Yeah, you can't say that on this talk radio.
I know. I have a potty mouth today. But, I feel like poop, and you're telling me that everything is hunky-dory here because that's what our values say on our website about our culture. So there is a major disconnect going out. A lot of it, to your point earlier in our discussion, Charlie, is about culture as like we feel like we've got to be the great place to work or whatever. There's just a lot of pressure on companies to feel like they've got to almost fit in with that, and I think it's just the opposite.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is really. You're right. There's societal pressures. There's competition. There's lots of things. But again, there's a little bit of this is just vulnerability and having some fortitude. Just look at yourselves in the mirror. I mean, what? We know that we know that we've got things we'd like to do better. The chances are that if those things you'd like to do better were really important to your success, you'd find a way to do something about them. If they are, if we're not doing something about them, that may be a hint, first of all, that they're not all that important to you. And that's okay. Like, we cannot be all things to all people. I am, and any organization
Thank you for saying that.
Any organization that continues to try to do that is wasting their time. Figure out the one, the two, the three, the three things, let's say, that you need to be really, really good at, that your culture needs to support, like, so that you're all nodding your head about it, so that you identify it, without question. You identify with it without question, and it shows up everywhere, and get good at that. But stop chasing this other stuff that you think you need to chase just because somebody else is talking about it.
When you talk about culture from an intimate and, quote, I'm going to do some air quotes, authentic level for all you guys out there who are enjoying our buzzwords today, what does that mean? Does that mean what you just said, or is that something different? Like, can companies just do the 1, 2, 3 distinctions and go, we're being intimate and authentic? Is that a leap, or does those things equate somehow?
Yeah, I mean, I think I understand your question. First of all, I don't know that. I mean, authentic is another one of those buzzwords that we're using a lot these days, which is great. I think authenticity in the workplace is really, really important. I don't think you an individual, you an organization can be truly authentic until you truly understand who you are, right? And you cannot make assumptions about that. You cannot base it on your own experience, because really you've got a collective experience of everybody who works for your organization that's influencing that. And again, you've got a collection of all of those behaviors, actions, beliefs. If you don't know how to, if you don't really understand what those things are, you can't talk about it in any authentic way. It's like,
right.
And I use this analogy just because I think it really works. It's like if I were to ask you, Megan, tell me about yourself. Well, you are in the best position to tell me about yourself in an intimate and open and an authentic way. But I'm betting you're going to start to use some of the same kinds of words that everybody else is using, because it's hard.
I sure hope
not.
To
articulate.
I hope not.
Well,
but I might. I might use humanization. I might just do that.
You might.
But you're right.
And that's okay if that's really crucial to. If that's really an indicator of who you are, then you ought to be using that word. But until you can validate that that's the case, you cannot talk about yourself authentically. It's like if I'm standing there and I'm telling a recruit, oh, we've got this awesome open door culture. Everybody says that. Well, have you measured that? Like, maybe that's the way you perceive open door, because when you walk the halls, the doors seem to be open. But everybody else, and this is just a simple example, everybody else may think, nobody will talk to me. So what have you done to validate that? What have you done to really understand that so you can talk about it authentically?
And then we need to start measuring the actual width of how open the door is.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wait a minute. Right? I mean,
and what happens
we're all
when you
about
walk
data,
into
right,
it?
Charlie?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you smash your head on it.
And that's the other thing. Like, some of these buzzwords need context around them. That's the other reason why we think, a good cultural understanding is really important.
Yay!
I mean,
exactly.
It's one thing to say we have an open door culture, but what does that really mean? Does it mean the door is open? Or does it mean that when you walk in, people put down their computers, they put down their devices, they forward the phone, they smile at you, and they say, come on in. Now, that's a different way to talk about open door cultures. Again, we're just using this as an example. There's lots of ways to do this. What does that really mean? It's one thing to say it. It's how the heck do you experience it?
And how does this all apply to organizational transformation? Can you share a few examples, maybe an example of a smaller based company who has, say less than 500 or 200 employees versus the 2,000 plus employee organization? We'd love to hear some real life examples from you, maybe a couple, because we're down to 4 minutes left.
Okay, sure. So, I mean, I don't think it matters whether you're an organization of 25 people or an organization of 2,500 people. You have a culture. That culture is distinct. It has an incredible impact on your success drivers and your ability to be successful. If those things are not aligned, you're always going to have trouble. And so, this work is not too big for any organization. We're working with a 26-person organization who's in the midst of a turnaround. They brought in a new CEO, and this CEO is astute enough to recognize, before I start going around and trying to fix stuff, I better understand what we're working with. Like, what do we really value around here? Because if I can figure that out first, I can figure out whether or not that's going to line up with what I think we need to accomplish in order to be successful. And so, now that we've done this analysis for them, now that we've put them through the workplace genome process, they've got this, it's kind of a blueprint. Hey, these are the things that are really prominent in your organization. Are those the things that you need to have prominent in your organization? If so, awesome, you're on the path to success. If not, these are some things that we may now want to focus on. And by the way, it's not all 40 or 64 things that our model measures. It's the 2 or 3 things that are out of alignment with your success drivers that we're going to focus on. So that's an example. We have a client right now that's using the same process for post-merger integration work. They recognize that they're combining 2 distinct businesses with 2 distinct cultures. Rather than going through some generic merger integration work, let's understand what the core differences are between those 2 cultures. Let's figure out if those differences are okay or whether or not some of them need to be bridged. And that's going to give us a whole set of priorities around what we need to focus on over the next 6-12 months as we integrate these 2 businesses. Again, it just started with an understanding. It just started with an awareness. It didn't start with a plan. It didn't start with, a future. It started with, this is who we are.
And does it matter the size of the organization? I mean, are we dealing, what sizes are we dealing with? Are these startups? Are the, because I would imagine I can't believe it. We are down to 60 seconds. We're having so much fun here. Well, I vote this. Let's wrap this, and then we can take this conversation over to Twitter. Charlie, really quick, where do we find you online now? How do people reach you? Just go
to workxo.com, workxo.com. Or as you said, I'm HR Fishbowl and the Twitters.
All right.
Would love to connect.
Well, thanks for being my special guest today, my friend. I'm so excited for you, and I know you and I will be collaborating into the future. So thanks for being here and sharing your wisdom, and we'll talk soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for having me, and thanks to everybody who listened. Appreciate it.